Hey there. So I wasn't going to do this yet because I was going to let it sit with me for a couple of days, but I just thought I'd let you know that tonight at 6 p.m. I went to see It Chapter 2. I did see some reviews from some other people prior to going to see it, but I am one of those people that prefers to make up my own mind in regards to the different scenes that it were portrayed. I would like to say at the very start of this, and I will have a title card that says it as well, so the title card will be at that side of the video. I just thought I'd let you know, yes, I am wearing my Stranger Things t-shirt because Finn Wolfhard is in both It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2, and the Finn Wolfhard plays Mike Wheeler in Stranger Things, so it was just my little thing. But as I said, there's going to be some spoilers in this video, so if you don't want spoilers, if you haven't seen it yet, because it only came out today in the UK, then please don't watch this video because it will be spoiled for you. So having said that, we open the movie with a shot of Sophia, Lily's Aunt Beverly Marsh shown floating in the air, which is what happened towards the end of chapter 1, which was made in 2016, released in 2017. So, like, if you haven't seen It Chapter 1 by now, then you're probably not going to see it. But basically, at the end of chapter 1, they had to go and rescue Beverly from Pennywise, and they found her floating in the air. As the Pennywise says a lot, we all float down here. So she had looked into his deadlights and basically went into a trance and was floating in the air. So that is the first thing that we see in the film. It then has a bright flash and moves forward. The next thing that we see is quite a shocking scene, I imagine, for a lot of people. Quite an uncomfortable scene for anybody who's part of the LGBTQ plus community. It is in the book, probably written in quite graphically in the book. Obviously, it's a horror book. But Adrian Mellon, and his boyfriend, whose name I can't remember now because of how it goes down for him. Basically, Adrian Mellon gets given a hat that says "I love Derry" on it, which is like a beaver hat. And they kiss a couple of times, and they're at the carnival, like Derry Town Carnival, and basically what happens is, unfortunately, Adrian Mellon and his boyfriend are set upon by some bullies that obviously are infected by the Derry disease, as Mike calls it, and basically beat Adrian up badly and then lift him up over the rail of the bridge and throw him into the water. It is at that point that the bullies run away, and now, like, Adrian's boyfriend runs down there, and near Pennywise is there, and basically very graphically depicted, just like at the beginning of It Chapter 1 with Georgie's arm being ripped off. We see Pennywise basically bite into the side of Adrian Mellon in front of his boyfriend, who obviously is shocked at everything that's just happened, and basically Pennywise kills Adrian. They are like relatively young men, so like it fits in with Pennywise's them killing children and young people. And obviously, the bullies kind of remind you of Henry Bowers, Victor Criss, Bill Chuggins, and Patrick Hockstetter and all that lot from the original film and miniseries that used to pick on the Losers Club. We then go on to meet the grown-up members of the Losers Club, Mike Hanlon, like Beverly Marsh. Bill Hader does a very good job of portraying the adult Richie Tozier. The first thing that we see him do on screen is we don't hear his phone call, but we basically know that he's had the phone call. And the first thing he does is he goes outside and throws up just before he gets on stage, and it's at that point that obviously they all begin to start remembering who Mike Hanlon is and things that happened to him, and that they're being called back to Derry. They all of them have a scar on their hand from when they made the oath that if it wasn't dead, they would come back and finish it off. There is a bit of a thing. Finn Wolfhard's character of Richie that Bill Hader plays as a grown-up has a secret that Pennywise knows what that secret is. And if you've watched any spoiler reviews of It Chapter 2, then you will know that the secret is that Richie Tozier is gay and had a crush on Eddie Cashback, which comes into what happens towards the end of the film. Richie is the most traumatized by what happens to Eddie Cashback when they've gone back down into the sewers. In case you don't know, he's not in it for very long. And how Patrick Hockstetter is portrayed as having come to get him. Henry Bowers is in this film as kind of a sort of cameo thing. He's grown up in an insane asylum after being arrested and having got out of I assume that it was Pennywise letting him, having survived falling down the well at Nightbolt Street and get out of the sewers, but he was arrested as soon as he arrived back at the house for killing his dad. He was telling them, I'm not finished, I've got to kill them all, which is basically what Pennywise got him and the children that had died were saying on the television screen to him when he killed his dad, kill them all, kill them all. And obviously he hadn't killed them all. So he wasn't finished, and 27 years later, he's intending to finish what he started by having gone insane and helping Pennywise to kill all of the Losers Club. Unfortunately, he doesn't actually achieve this. He manages to stab Eddie Cashback in the cheek, but Eddie just gets the knife and stabs it into what essentially seems to be towards his shoulder more than actually. I mean, from one position it looks like he stabbed him straight in the middle, but when in the another position it looks like he stabbed him off to one side. So I don't know if that was a continuity error or what, but he doesn't manage to kill Eddie. He doesn't manage to kill Richie. He doesn't manage to kill Mike Hanlon. Unfortunately, anybody who's read the book and knows the story from the book, Stanley doesn't make it to Derry. There is a letter that's read in various voices the adult voices and the children's voices at the end of the movie that explains to the rest of the Losers Club why he didn't return to Derry. The reason basically is that he continued, despite the fact that his memories would have disappeared, to be the one who was most afraid of Pennywise from what Pennywise did to him as a child, so he didn't return. He unfortunately took his own life in the bathtub. Which Beverly, if you see at the beginning of the movie, actually tells them that she knows how they were all going to die, because when she was put into the trance by Pennywise's deadlights, she actually saw them all as older people, so she saw them as their 40-something-year-old selves and how they were all gonna die. So, like, kind of, she got given a premonition of what would happen to them all if they didn't basically come back and defeat it. By giving them the successes that he gave them, it was his way of, even when he was in hibernation, of keeping them from coming back to Derry. But he had been dreaming about them for 27 years, and he basically got them to come back. But everybody but Stanley. So the Lucky Seven, as they are also known from the book, the Losers Club, is reduced to 6. Unlike in the miniseries, Mike isn't hospitalized. He's actually down there in the sewers, with Eddie, Bill, and all the others. Bill finally reveals something that's a new twist in the film, that he wasn't actually that poorly when he sent Georgie out in the rain to play with the boat, the paper boat that he made. He just didn't want to go out and play with his brother in the rain, so he actually told a lie to his brother about him being poorly to go out and play, and about vomiting out of his nose and all that. So because of that, he's felt guilty for 27 years for Georgie having his arm ripped off and being killed by Pennywise, but he comes to terms with that when they've gone through the failed ritual of Chud and everything. So because Mike didn't reveal the fourth side of the thing, that you have to believe that you're going to defeat Pennywise to defeat him, from the ritual of Chud, so it didn't actually work. But what did work is them believing that he was just a clown and making him shrink to smaller and smaller and smaller, and then basically, just as happened in the miniseries when he was an awful, like, spider looking thing at the end of the miniseries. He actually, how he's portrayed in the end of this film is much better. He's a somewhat half clown, half spider thing, so he can still talk to them and basically try to scare them, but they actually managed to defeat him and rip his heart out and crush it. So he's dead as dead. Unfortunately for me, when I came out of the cinema, some other things happened. The bus that I got on, somebody decided to throw something solid at the window and broke one of the windows of the bus, so I had to walk into intake and get another bus up to the terminus and walk home. But real life can be scarier than a fictional film, but it was very good. We didn't see a heck of a lot of deaths, Really, we saw the very traumatic death of Adrian Mellon for being gay and wearing an I Love Derry hat. Which him being thrown into the water caused him to be killed by Pennywise. There was a little girl called Vicky who he said he would get magic a scar away on her face, and basically how he did that was bite her face off. There was a little boy who lived in Bill Emperor's old house, who unfortunately ends up dying at the Derry Carnival, when Bill actually makes it this time to the carnival, but unfortunately isn't able to stop Pennywise from killing him, this time in front of him. Unfortunately, as I said, Richie is traumatized by Eddie dying because he secretly had a crush on him years ago, when they were like 12, and pretty much the rest of the losers survive, which is contrary to what happened in the miniseries. I think Mike was hospitalized in the miniseries, Eddie died, and I think Richie may also have died, but I'd have to revisit the miniseries. But they all put up a good fight, and that is basically it. The conclusion of the film, with Stanley's letter explaining why he didn't come, and everybody able to move on. I feel really sorry for Richie that he never got to tell his feelings to Eddie, and so that they could go off together. Beverly finally realizes that it wasn't Bill but Ben that didn't send her that card, January Ember's card, and they go off together and live on a boat with a dog. Hopefully they finally are going to be able to have children now. Bill probably went back to his wife, who we only saw briefly at the beginning of the film, Audra, and like basically Eddie and Stanley's wives are now widows, because the two of them are dead, and Pennywise is dead, and that's it. So, as I said, this is full of spoilers. I did find it emotional. I was shaking a little bit before I even went in, probably partially with anticipation of everything that was going to go off. There were some good scenes. The Paul Bunyan statue scene was excellent. I really enjoyed the fact that they did utilise that from the book, and like the mass amount of blood that the grown up Beverly ended up swimming in and everything, and how their memories came back, and the Jade of the Orient scene with the little weird spider baby head thing and stuff, which is probably mocking the fact that none of them had had children, and like how the old Bill's book endings were apparently all terrible book endings, because they were all bad book endings, whereas normal like finally managed to work out how to give a good book ending after everything he went through. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you like this review, please give it a thumbs up. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. Please subscribe if you haven't already, because it helps with the algorithm of YouTube, and I will see you all again soon. Bye!